from America with Ayman. Usually, since President Donald Trump came to the White House, and I did a lot of videos and I took a lot of posts about Department of Government Efficiency. This is a new department coming with a new administration, and today I have a Republican friend, and she tell us more about DOGE and what DOGE do, what the target for DOGE, how they work, what's behind the DOGE work, and also she tell us more about her role at DOGE, how she helped, how she tried to make America great again. Let me welcome Lisa Atkinson. How are you doing, Lisa?
Good. Thank you for having me.
course.
New experience, learning.
Of course. Thank you for finding time to my podcast today. And I know we have a lot of things to cover, so let's jumping in the question. Why DOGE? Why this new department in the government? It hasn't before. We never seen something like this before. We never seen something to monitor the government or to watch the government. So why DOGE and why at this time?
So it's the delivery of government efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think, we need efficiency and we need our government to work effectively and, to use the provisions and the property that God has given us to work with and make our country great. And we need to be respectful of those gifts and we have to use them wisely. And so when we elect individuals to our government, we expect them to do their part to manage our money effectively and efficiently and lawfully. And we haven't done a very good job as a country in recent years. There are, obvious improvement things that we can do to help our government stay strong for generations. And, DOGE is the process by which our government, or that entity, if you will, can identify fraud. They can look for abuses in our system. They can look for outdated processes or, inefficiencies that are really holding our country back, not allowing us to, grow as a nation. It's stifling our growth. And, our inability to grow creates inflation. Inflation affects us all. It stifles our country's ability to grow, and it prevents us from really helping others in times of disaster where you would want our nation to step up. So it's a really good, I think, entity, a good way to approach. It's, I hate to use the word audit, but it really is. It's auditing how we effectively use our government and our government works for us. And, the target of DOGE is, we desire a balanced budget. We should eliminate wasteful spending. If something's not working, there should be a new way. We should not continue to spend money on things that are not effective or serving a purpose or doing what we thought they would do for us as a nation. So the auditing that takes place within DOGE and all the departments is really that. It's just to assure that all the areas they're looking at are meeting or exceeding their purpose that they were established for. And I looked the other day, Amen, and it's like we are $37 trillion in debt.
Wow.
That's huge.
Yes.
And to say it another way, every citizen in the United States, that would divide out to be $107,000 worth of debt that each of us bears because our country is so far into debt. And if you take that number and you divide it across the people that are old enough to pay income tax, or, they are the taxpayers, we each have the burden of like $323,000 in debt, contributed to what our country owes. And we truly are at a crossroads at a nation. I do not think the USA, America, can continue on this trajectory and sustain itself. I'm not a CPA, but I do read and I try to learn about what's going on. And I've heard it repeatedly. We heard it in Austin the other day that we just are not set up to sustain a debt at that level. So DOGE is necessary. You know, it's really designed to help us get control of our budget, reduce the debt. It even has an opportunity to find those individuals or those areas in our government that are not doing things above board, you know, fraud, you know, inefficiencies, people that are actively engaged in doing something that, you know, is against our Constitution or technically unlawful. And so they're finding those things.
That's what took me to other question, which is, since we hear about DOGE and when President Trump established this department and give it to Elon Musk to start working with this talented and high Q engineers, and we always listen, yeah, like hear the news about the fraud and the corruptions we have, but let me ask you this, and we have a nice conversation on this day when we talk about the other roles for DOGE. So does DOGE work only for monitoring the government spending, or does it have other roles?
I think it's really looking for best ways, best practices, if you will, to carry out the government's business. An example, if you have two departments right now, let's say we have two departments in our agricultural, division. And one is managing produce and the sale of those goods. And the other department is managing, dairy and the dairy products. So DOGE can come in and ask simple questions. We have two departments technically within agriculture. Do we need to combine, or can we combine departments? Could you reduce the overall expense that we're paying as taxpayers to run that department? Could you combine and reduce your administrative cost? Could you reduce the number of square feet that you need to run those departments by combining? Do you need the number of employees that you have within the two departments? If you combine, you could reduce the number of employees. So it really is looking at best practices, best ways to do things. I think thinking out of the box, using technology to our advantage, streamlining. I think DOGE is all about that. In addition to saving money, I think they're very talented experts that can look at process and find places or opportunities to eliminate waste or eliminate 10 steps and save yourself a lot of money. It's all about the efficiency, I believe.
But can also give recommendations. Like yesterday was a nice interview with some of DOGE team and Elon Musk and the Fox News. And also I surprised when I hear about like our department is working like separate islands. There is no talk. The system doesn't talk. So each department has his own system, but the system doesn't talk together. You don't have like common language. So whatever it's have, like you said, it's duplication or two departments do the same job, we will never know. And we keep giving fund for this department and other fund for the other department, and the tax buyer's money is going there. It's this
right. It just goes.
Yes, and it's double work. It doesn't have any meaning. Yeah. But I'm glad we have this now, and we have like talented team taking care of details and watching our tax money dollars. This is very important. So
would you like to hear about like two significant achievements?
Please.
Would that work?
Please.
Okay. All right. Well, just the other day, we found out that we've been paying Social Security benefits. And when they first found it, it was, $31 million every month. And it was tied back to people that were over the age of 120. Not many of us live to be 120 in America. It would be wonderful, but that's not the case. Yeah. But I mean, that's just an example. Like you said, the departments aren't talking to each other. So there's a department that records the date of death when someone passes. We have a department that's going to, record that date of death. Well, that department's not talking to Social Security department who continues to spit the checks out each month. And so DOGE found that gap between, person that's died isn't deserving of Social Security, so it needs to stop. But because they don't talk to each other, you end up with what we have. And I think that's a really good example of departments not talking to each other, but the good work and the expertise that DOGE has to find those things and to see, you know, what's the cause of these checks going out. Well, we didn't know the person had passed away because that department, they aren't talking.
Yeah. And also, even with the immigration, like, as you know, in our channel, we took into the U.S. citizens who have background from the Middle East and they speak Arabic. So recently, I realized something, that even the people who are naturalized and they came like on a green card or certain ways, and they have to apply for the citizenship. Even after the citizenship, they have to inform the Social Security that they are become citizens to change the status.
Yes.
Change the status from the green card holder to U.S. citizen. This is supposed to be automatically once they take the oath and they have the citizenship, the U.S. citizenship. So they're supposed to change it automatically in the system. We don't need to go and waste the people's time and take the process. It's a little bit complicated process, and I can tell, especially at the IRS and Department of Treasury, sometimes there is a lack of communication.
Yes.
Even with they are and under the same umbrella, but this is some of lack of communication. So I wish there those recommendations to help us to have like more advanced system. It's connect all the departments under one umbrella, so it will be easy to monitor that. And that's exactly, I think, what one of the engineers in DOGE he mentioned in Fox News was the Elon Musk interview. He mentioned that if they have one bank account, like huge bank account for the whole government, it will be easy to monitor, other than you have thousands of accounts. Yeah. So
you know what the check was dispersed for.
exactly.
That was one of the first things that DOGE did. Was exactly. If you can believe it, in 2025, a government would write a check and not have a way to tag purpose of payment.
Oh, wow.
And so DOGE created the field in those various accounts so that as checks were being written, at least they were forced. It was a mandatory field that they had to fill in. And that's within the last 3 months. Prior to that, we didn't have a way to do that.
Wow. So I need to know more about your role, Lisa, with helping DOGE. I know you have hands in some places. You held an election too, and you promised me one day we would talk about the election. Especially, we have elections coming very soon. I'm flying like
yes.
So you promised me we'll talk about this in different days.
Future, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I need to know from you how you help DOGE, or what's your role helping DOGE?
I think, well, first of all, I have grandchildren, I have children, so I want the liberties and the freedoms that I experienced growing up and enjoy today to continue for those generations and generations beyond them. Mm-hmm. And as a citizen of Texas, I found myself not agreeing with what you'd hear on the news or being concerned about what you read, or, and it didn't make any sense. So I found a way to engage with like-minded people who shared the same concerns. And I joined a local Republican group here in the Cypress area. Mm-hmm. And through that, I've been able to learn about resources that are available to us, websites and publications that if you can learn about what's happening at DOGE, like what are they focused on this week? Mm-hmm. And generally you have a way in those resources or websites, you can click, you can offer your comments, you can agree with what they're doing, you can disagree with what they're doing, you can ask questions and get answers. Mm-hmm. And I think it's all about the information and understanding what's taking place in the country. Mm-hmm. And so my role as a member of the Cyprus Republicans is I'm on a subcommittee, and the subcommittee watches what goes on in our state. Mm-hmm. And my assignment is DOGE. So, so I'm learning all about DOGE and sharing information that I learn about DOGE with everyone that, can learn or wants to learn, because there's so much information out there. I really feel it's necessary, and it's something that I can do, and I feel like I should do. And I think that it behooves us all to understand how our government functions. And, and I think DOGE is playing a really important role at a very pivotal time in America. So my role is, is hold up and keep going, learn what I can, share what I've learned, and continue to, understand and know what's happening, and where you can affect a bill, or you can offer your opinion to a lawmaker. All those little things add up if we all do it. Yeah. It takes us all, and if they hear from one person, they may think about it, but if they hear from 20 of us, it's going to carry some weight, and they might, want to understand a little bit more why we have that opinion, or why we would want to support A or B, whatever it might be. So, wonderful. Does that help?
It's very helpful. You know what? As I told you before, if all citizens, they share and try to help and keep learning, give recommendations. If you see fraud, if you see something, say something. Don't be silent. If you see something, say something. So this is very important role, and I've encouraged everyone who was listening to our podcast today, just be involved. Don't sit down on the sofa and watch and waiting for someone who take the decisions for you. Let me close with this. I'm always engaged in the news. So today I was reading, and I found something. Even I don't. This is before we meet today. So let me share this with you and with the viewers. Okay. I found something today. It's a very interesting topic, which is, I consider it's kind of fraud, but maybe not fraud in numbers, but fraud in management. Which is when former President Biden he decided not to go for the race, and Kamala Harris, she is taking the lead directly from the former President Barack Obama, not from Biden. Even he is the president. This is very interesting. And this is one of the things, like the auto ban we mentioned before. I mentioned this before in one of my videos, but
yes,
this is very interesting topic. And I think we will discover a lot of frauds, not only in money, but also in managing this country for the last 2 years. Lisa, I wish I can continue talking to you. I know you just finished your work, and thank you again for finding time for me today. And this is the first meeting, but will not be the last. We find the time together again, and we talk about the election. And I know you have a lot of experience in the election, especially you were working in the election before. So, and you was inside the election kitchen. So we will use your experience to tell people how the election works, how everything is worked behind the scene. The thing is, you don't see, but Lisa will be with us next time, and she tells us more about the elections and how they prepare for the elections, and how things will get ready for you to go and vote.
Yes.
Again, Lisa, thank you so much for being with you.
Share the DOGE website.
Yes, I will.
Where it shows what our debt is. It's amazing. It's clocking right now as we're talking.
Lisa, give us a link. I will make sure to leave this link under the video. So if you need any more information about what the DOGE fund, the government efficiency, the frauds, everything, I will make sure I will leave this link below under the video so you can go and navigate, and you will find more and more and more. Thank you again, Lisa. Thank you for your
All
time.
right.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
today.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for being with me today. Again, I will close my podcast today as we used to do this before. Thank you so much for being with me. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you. Bye-bye.